Greetings, travelers, and welcome back again to the Custom NPC's tutorial series. Today's episode, as promised, will be the Global tab. And we'll do an overview of all the different features here, and then in the next episode is the one we will get into dialogues and quests. So, as you can see here, we have several different tabs. Now, again, Global. This affects all Custom NPCs. So for banks, let's say you're going to do a some kind of just any map where you're going to have several different towns and everything, and you want to set up bankers. So to show you what a banker does first, if you right click on a banker NPC, you will see the inventory for the banker. But what you want to do, if you want to do, you can actually set up to upgrade. So we're going to use, well, let's clear out what I have here so it just brings up everything. And just for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to use wood. So if you do wood, well, let's pick a bank. So it has a default bank. So we'll just call this Bank of Evermore. So by default it has what you saw, just that one bit of inventory. But if you want, you can actually set it up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 6. So this will set up to open up tabs, and then we'll just do this for the upgrade cost. And you save. Now when you go into the banker, you'll see you have the ability to upgrade. So an upgrade, I need more wood, so let's go back. This was oak, so we'll do this. 6. And if you hit upgrade, now you have an even larger tab. This is just a storage. But if you want, you can unlock additional tabs. And as you unlock one, the next one, and each one you can also upgrade. But the most important part is that also allows you, when you're in for the linked, or not here, the banks, when you select that, every NPC that you give that bank to will have the same inventory. So it's a way to have players be able to use, if you want to have several different bank branches at different towns, you can have the same bank, and then they can share the inventory and access their inventory in that town, so they don't have to keep going back to a different town. Or you can have several different banks. So you have competing banks with different costs, so it kind of gets players to decide which bank they want to use. And not every town is going to necessarily have the same bank. That's up to you. But that's how you can set it up, so that each bank, and then you can create multiple banks, obviously, to decide which one to use in which areas. The factions, which we covered briefly a couple of times, this is basically how you're going to set up for the different NPCs. So you can have the interactions, where you can have the players doing quests or tasks that increase faction, so that you can have different towns where maybe initially everybody doesn't really care, but as they do other tasks, they earn faction points, so that the players can actually start to do quests in that area. However you want to do it, and you just simply click add, gives you a new one, and then you set a color, and you can tell whether what the default starting is for the faction, whether or not it's a hidden, whether or not that faction gets attacked by mobs. Not a lot of different options, but enough to get things going there. Dialogues and quests, here you're going to have a start, but what you can do here is you create different categories for dialogues, and then within each one you will actually have the actual dialogues that you set up. My suggestion is to keep yourself organized. Set up different categories for different sections. You can either do it by location, so say you have 4 towns, each town is its own category, or even break it down further so that you have the different NPCs as their category, and then the dialogues for each NPC. It depends on how fine you want that categorization. Same thing with the quests. The dialogue, though, when you do it, you'll see in this interface, and we'll go in more detail in the next tutorial, but this is all the options that you have for setting up dialogues. And then the same thing, we don't have any quests. We'll just add a new category real quick and a new quest. So you can see very similar to the dialogues, just different options because you don't actually have dialogues to choose from, but it's to set up how the quest functions. Transport, this is where you're going to set up. You can add in, you edit. This gives you change the name. Okay. But if you want to add, this is all the different locations. So if you want to add a location, you would just type in, Stonewall. We'll just give it a name. These are the different categories of transport. So if you open it up, you'll have the locations. And those are set up when you set up the NPCs in those locations. You'll have them because you'll choose for each NPC which category. And then when you set the NPC, you're going to tell it what its location is. And then those will begin to show up within the category. And then, of course, once you have them, you can go back and edit information about those. We'll skip over this for a minute. And recipes, this is where you can remove recipes if you don't want players to be able to make things, or add custom recipes, and this uses the CustomNPC crafting bench, which is why it's the 4x4 grid. But the nice thing is you can do just, they still will work, or they still have to be done in the crafting bench for CustomNPC's, but you can set up 3x3, the whole 4x4, but you can add and remove. You can have it ignore damage, lots of different settings for creating your own. And you can actually do global, which is the regular vanilla crafting bench. You can set and add and remove recipes as well. Player data, this is where it's going to show all the players that are currently active with CustomNPC's. And what you can do is you can delete the player, basically reset them to default, and they have to start all over again. You can actually edit the specific quest data if there is any. Dialogues, the transport, all the information that's stored by the player. See, like I've already accessed and upgraded the bank. So I could delete this, and then all my information about the bank is gone. And then the player has to go back. So if there's ever comes across a problem, most commonly you'll probably do quest data, but if there's ever an issue that comes up, you can come in here to reset, delete, remove, get everything back to the default status. Link, these are going to be the NPCs that you can link. And that, so that when a way to link the NPCs, I should say, so that if you have multiple NPCs, you use the link function so that the NPCs are linked together somehow. So if there's a quest issue, they sync up that way. Now, natural spawns, this is where you can actually set up a title, what biome. Basically, if you're going to create natural spawn NPCs because you're going to create your own custom mobs, you can actually use that here for the select NPC, and then in that way you can use it to define specific biomes and how likely they are to spawn and everything like that. And if you have a bunch, now these are in here because of in my main folder, of course, I've saved all the NPCs as I've created them for my mod pack. So again, I have them all as a list that I can go into and then modify or select them to be spawning. So the most important part that we're going to cover, and this will be in the next episode, the next one will probably be a little bit longer because we're going to go through beginning to end, setting up a short dialogue chain and adding quests in there to complete and how to do different features with each of those. So this particular episode is not going to be as long, but it does give you an idea of what each of the different areas in the global section are for. Again, thank you guys for coming by. Looking forward to seeing you in the next episode where we will cover dialogues and quests finally. And you guys have a great day.